again, it's me from the Welcome to Wonderland podcast. This Thanksgiving, make a statement with ZJZDesigns' brand new Thanksgiving Day prints. Whether you're hosting the family feast or just want to show your festive spirit, they've got the perfect design to make your holiday memorable. Introducing Tommy the Turkey. He's fun, he's festive, and he's the star of their latest collection. From playful tees to cozy long sleeves, Tommy will keep you looking stylish as you carve the turkey or sit back and enjoy the pie. And that's not all. Their Thanksgiving prints feature a variety of unique designs that capture the warmth and joy of the season, perfect for yourself or as a gift for a loved one. Shop now at ZJZDesigns.com and bring a little extra cheer to your Thanksgiving.
The All About Nothing podcast may have language and content
that isn't appropriate for some.
Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, Nothingers, to the All About Nothing podcast. This is episode number 283. I am Barrett Gruber. I'm joined by Mr. Jon Sears. Welcome, Jon. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Please subscribe and share the show. That's how we get new listeners. Also, please consider supporting the show financially by visiting theallaboutnothing.com and becoming an official member, proudly calling yourself a true Nothinger. I have more details on that at the end of the show. If you can't do that, please give us a 5-star review, a like, and follow us across social media. You can find links to that at theallaboutnothing.com. So, Jon, we've been trying to put this together for a little while.
We have. Finally. Came together. I love it.
I'm just going to do an introduction. This is what I wrote. So today we are tackling the issue of fundamentally reshaping the hospitality industry here in South Carolina, the liquor liability law, and the soaring cost of doing business. So this isn't just a legal issue, it's a financial crisis. This is hitting restaurants and bar owners across the state. So we have a guest today who knows this business inside and out and has been in the front lines of this debate for years. Please help me in welcoming Jon Sears. Welcome, Jon.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Jon, you are a veteran entrepreneur here in Columbia, South Carolina, in the hospitality scene. You are the co-owner of several well-known establishments, including the upscale Hendricks on Main, which is where we're at right now. Beloved 5 Points Jake's on Divine. Beyond serving great food and drinks, Jon is also an outspoken advocate for his industry, battling the rising tide of insurance costs and driven in the state's current liability standards. I really want to thank you for being here and appreciate you having this conversation with us.
Absolutely.
This is not an easy one. And this is not one that I knew a whole lot about until probably about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
When I kept seeing article after article of businesses here in Columbia, South Carolina closing.
Right.
And the excuse, because we see businesses close all the time. People retire, people sell businesses that doesn't work out. It's hard to hold ownership on a restaurant.
Right.
But the thing we kept seeing over and over was it was the cost of doing business in South Carolina because of these liquor liability laws. It's had an impact on you all.
Huge impact.
Settlements are difficult.
Yeah.
And they cost a lot.
Yeah.
So the 2017 law mandated that a minimum $1 million liquor liability coverage. Can you describe that in, I guess, layman terms?
So that was the beginning of our problems when they made the mandatory $1 million requirement. And, at the time, you think back after going through all this and you're like, how did this even start? And really there was not a lot of pushback. The SCLRA, they should have been in front of that and they were not. It kind of just passed, I think with pretty much zero opposition. And then ever since that 2017, bill passed, now we're, now every year it goes up and up and up and keeps going. So here we are.
With the increase in these, we've seen a doubling in the number of claims that have been made too.
Yeah. Well, I think the lawyers are figuring out that it's a pretty lucrative case to get if you can get any of these. And I think they're jumping as quickly as possible to get them.
Does as far as like the insurance portion of it, how much plays a role as far as like the lawyers in the state house and things like that? How much of a role do you think that the insurance has in how they've manipulated this whole system?
Well, I guess the argument that all the legislators make is that, that it seems like they're trying to blame the insurance company.
Yeah.
And, I'm a businessman, and from a business perspective, writing liquor liability insurance in South Carolina is a terrible business perspective because there's so much risk. You're 1% at fault and you could pay out 100% of the damages, which, I'm sure we'll talk about that. But, it's just not fair. I mean, if you're 1% at fault, you should pay out 1% of the damages. I mean, it's crazy. So, these insurance companies, they don't want to write business here because, there's a set, premium that they're going to collect. And then there's almost unlimited downside at this point with the way some of these are settling. So, from an insurance perspective, I get it. They don't want to write insurance here because it's not a good business climate for them to do so, and then I'm sure we'll talk about the legislature and the lawyer, but yeah, when, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard almost half of the legislators are lawyers. And
I think it's more than that.
Yeah, or more than that, So when you're a plaintiff lawyer and you're sitting in the state Senate, do you want, liquor liability reform? Do you want tort reform? No, of course not. You sue people for a living. You don't want tort reform. So, when the people making the laws, it's against their financial interests to save the restaurant industry when they make their money from suing bars and restaurants. You're probably not going to get much change, right? And this last session we got a little bit of relief, but not really. I mean, it didn't really help any of the places like Jake's, help places like Hendrick's, but Hendrick's didn't need help. I mean, my premium actually went down last year at Hendrick's. It's the later night places and the higher volume and higher percentage of alcohol places. That's who needs help. That's who's getting, crippled right now.
Yeah.
And we got a little bit, with the serve safe. I mean, there was like the tier system. And if you do this, you get 200,000 off or whatever. So all of, everybody in the restaurant business in South Carolina has all their servers serve safe certified. So that will be something that we'll be able to get a discount for, but everything else that was put into that bill doesn't do anything to help a place like Jake's.
I've always been of the belief that we all have our own personal responsibilities and things like that. And I get that alcohol is that being addicted to alcohol is a disease.
Sure.
It is one of those things that I've never had an addiction problem to that or drugs or anything like that, but I don't think I've ever experienced it enough where it could have built into a disease of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
But how difficult is it for, let's say at Jake's, where you've got 150 sometimes people in there at one time, and your servers are trying to just maintain status quo without people getting upset and things like that. How difficult is it for a server, even if they are certified, to be able to cut someone off?
Oh, I mean, I've said, and this sounds like me posturing, but it's impossible. I mean, it's impossible for us to defend ourselves against these. I mean, there was my lawyer's Joe McCulley. I think it was him who told me the story. I think it was like 10 years ago. There was a bar in Columbia where the manager took the patron's keys so he wouldn't drive, and he was belligerent and wanted to drive and was demanding to drive. They took his keys, I guess forcibly or not forcibly, they took them. The guy walks home and walked on railroad tracks, fell off and died, and he was able to sue the bar successfully. You know what I mean? So short of putting a breathalyzer machine on the wall when you leave, and then I'm able to take your keys if you blow over. I mean, what am I supposed to do? I can't, you can't, I mean, you're serving hundreds of people, and yes, if the guy walks up and he's buying a drink and if he shows signs, you don't serve him, of course.
Right.
But, if it's a fast-paced environment, I'm looking at you, I'm saying, hey, Barrett, what do you want? Giving you a drink. And if you're looking at me and you're talking coherently and okay, he's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say, and again, there's no personal responsibility. So, I mean, if somebody has too many drinks, maybe it should be on them whether or not they should drive or not,
Right.
And so, there's zero personal responsibility, and the 100% of the burden falls onto us. And, I can't get into individual cases, but, a lot of these, man, like we've had one where the guy had a designated driver to and from the bar. This was a couple years ago, and we still got sued and still had to pay out, and I mean, some of these cases that, the driver's going to multiple other bars and restaurants. I mean, the way the law is written right now in South Carolina, I mean, you could go to 20 restaurants right now and have a drink at each one, and then you could wreck and kill somebody, and then the victim could sue every single bar, for $1 million. So is the first bar you went to at 3:30 p.m., is that one that has that fault as the one that you went to at 2 in the morning? So I mean, there's no way to parse it. It's just everybody's at fault, and the lawyers are going to sue whoever has the highest insurance. It's, and that's pretty much how it works.
It feels like it's lacking some of the common sense, and and as well as this, not to get political or partisan on it, but South Carolina is run by Republicans who have always been. I've always believed that the mentality of Republicans is you have to stand up on your own 2 feet.
Personal responsibility.
And it doesn't feel like that's what this is. It feels like this is sort of an out to. it's an out to try and find some way of taking the restaurant owners and bars and things like hospitality industry and making them financially responsible for something that doesn't feel like, again, cut them off. I get it completely. But like you described, like I know people that 3 drinks and we're stopping on the way home to let them throw up outside of the car.
Right. Well, there's so many factors. And I mean, who know, and that's the other thing, the other argument I'll make, I don't know what drugs you took or what you drank before you came into my establishment. So, if you chug a half a bottle of Fireball in your car and take a Xanax and then you walk into Jake's, your first drink, you're probably going to look fine, but then you're going to quickly, so I mean, like, how are we supposed to know what people are doing before they come?
Yeah.
I mean, all I can do is assess you, or all my bartenders can do is assess you for the 5 seconds they have to assess you. And again, yes, if your eyes are crossed, if you're slurring your words, if you're falling over, you're not going to get served in any of my establishments. But it's harder than that most of the time to tell if somebody's inebriated.
2017 was when they enacted this. So we've now had this in place for about 8 years.
Right.
What sort of financial impact has that had on the restaurants that you and your partners own as far as like in 8 years? Because it's got to be substantial.
Oh, substantial. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to remember. I think like initially, you were paying under 10 grand a year. And now, I mean, this year Jake's is paying $365,000.
That's how many employees is that?
What do we have? 60, 75 employees, something like that.
It's unbelievable.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. And I mean, thankfully, Jake's does pretty well, so we can afford to pay it. But the reason all these places are closing, I mean, the Woody, I think theirs was something like 50,000 and, a smaller place that doesn't do as much revenue as Jake's, like, you can't afford that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's these small local places, that can't afford to pay the liquor liability. I mean, Chili's and Applebee's and Buffalo Wild Wing, like they'll be fine, but it's these local places that are going to get killed here. And, and it's, the way it's been put a lot is, these lawyers are going to kill the golden goose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tourism is the top industry in South Carolina. And I mean, everyday places are closing down. So pretty soon, I mean, we're going to be gone.
I was going to say on Platte Springs Road, the beer garden over there, I think they had their last day just a couple of days ago.
Did they really?
Within the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I didn't hear about it.
So that one's gone. We have, I can't even think of all the places that we have seen close over time. So being not a native from South Carolina, I was born and raised in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. You go to 5 Points or you go to Virginia Highlands or something like that, you throw a rock, you hit a restaurant.
Right.
And it's difficult for me to understand how this sort of thing would play out in Georgia, mm-hmm. because I don't see that happening. And maybe it's because legislature isn't, mostly lawyers, but it just doesn't, I don't recognize that as something that would potentially happen. You have too many people that would fight up against it. Does having part of the population of Columbia specifically being a part-time population with the students coming and going, does that make it more difficult to show that this isn't something that's just, the impact that it's going to have is on the residents that live here full time? Mm-hmm. Do you see any sort of back and forth as far as like with other restaurant owners and the impact that it's having on them?
Yeah. Well, to your first point, yeah, Georgia and Florida are way better. I've actually, one of my partners here, he opened a place in Atlanta. The liability scene there is, I mean, I forget what he pays, but it's a fraction of what we pay here. So yeah, we're not, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina is a little bit weird, but in terms of alcohol laws, but yeah, I mean, South Carolina, we've got the worst in the, insurance and liability situation in the Southeast. So,
yeah.
So has it affect? What was the other question? I'm sorry. It was.
Sorry, I ramble.
Me too.
But having part-time residents here,
part-time residents, yeah.
Because even in Atlanta, like we would see if something like this happened, we would see an outroar of the population. There would be people that would go and sit in hearings and things like that. They would have conversations with their legislators. Right. I don't think that happens here.
Well, the problem here is that the leadership behind this issue on our side is very fractured. So the South Carolina Lodging and Restaurant Association, they should be the ones who are tackling this head on. They should have been the ones that fought it in 2017 when they went to the $1 million limit. They should have been fighting this the entire time. And they have not been doing a good job. They've done a very poor job, to be quite frank. And, they just haven't gotten in front of this, and they haven't been able to really do anything on this front. And, they've got lobbying power. And, we didn't get done in this session what we needed to get done.
Yeah.
So, there's other groups that have formed, but it's kind of like they should be they're the state restaurant group. I mean, they should be the ones fighting this. They should be taking on, 90% of the fight. Instead, they're not. So we have all these other groups that have had to form to try to kind of take it on together, but there's not a ton of uniformity amongst those groups. And so it's just kind of like, we have this group, we have this group, we have this group. And, we're all fighting, for liquor liability reform, but we don't really have a centralized voice. And that's been the biggest problem, I'd say.
So, and what is the group called that's supposed to be fighting this?
The South Carolina Lodging and Restaurant Association.
Lodging and Restaurant Association.
Yeah.
And I assume, is this sort of like a unionized it feels like, it sounds like it's sort of a loose union of hospitality industry.
Well, it's not really, it's the state organization. So yeah, it's the
state organization.
Yeah. So this is the state, lobbying, firm, well, not firm, excuse me, the state lobbying organization for restaurants and hotels.
Where do they get their funding?
They get their funding from, they do fundraising, but I don't know. I guess.
Do they get?
I'm pretty sure it's from the state of South Carolina. Yeah.
See, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, because in my head, it feels like there should be an organized group representing you all,
right, that
isn't associated with the financial end of receiving funding from the state of South Carolina. And again, it feels like all of this happened very quickly. Yeah. It doesn't feel like it was well thought out, because I remember earlier in the 2010s, there was the insistence down in 5 Points that if you were going to have a bar, you had to serve food.
Yeah.
That was something that I felt like took a toll on the restaurants, because it also came on very quickly, but it felt like some of the ones that could do it handled it and have maintained themselves as businesses. And then out of nowhere, it felt like 2017, here's this liquor liability law. And its impact was felt almost immediately by some of the smaller restaurants and bars and things like that. And it feels targeted, is what it feels like.
Yeah.
I don't know how many South Carolina representatives. Maybe that's part of the problem, is that for the most part, they're only here for 10 weeks in Columbia for 10 weeks out of the year, and then they go back to their homes. And maybe where they're representing doesn't necessarily have an industry like this, because South Carolina, for the most part, is pretty rural. A lot of people live in the cities, but it's a very rural state.
Sure.
I'm just going through all of this in my head, trying to figure out solutions. So an organization to potentially represent you all, I think that isn't being maintained by the state of South Carolina feels like a solution that could at least. Now, I bring that up. They're enacting reforms in 2026, including capping license fees at, what was this, 50,000 in DUI cases? Offering insurance reductions for things, mandatory server training, and early closing times. Right. Do those even sound like solutions?
Like I said earlier, none of that. The only thing that helps a place like Jake's out of all those stipulations is the serve safe. So we'll get the discount for the serve safe. But if you're open after midnight and and you're high volume, you're more alcohol food. There's no other relief at all. So
you can't make money if you're not open selling.
Right.
Right.
So basically for in that bill, or that law, doesn't go into effect until January 1st. So I just had to renew my Jake's policy, and so we'll find out in January. Will they require me, now to carry 800 and not 1 million? But it's not clear how that's all going to play out and when that's all going to get sorted, and is it going to be the middle of 2026 before we really know what's going, you know what I mean? So it should have been enacted right away. And, it might bring us a little bit of relief, but at the end of the day, we need a lot more than that,
Well, and so, okay. So that brings on another question. In Columbia, obviously, Jake's, you're pretty reliant on the population of the students to be able to be successful.
Right.
That isn't a full-time. That's not a full year.
Right.
I know, is Jake's the one that has a partnership with Everplay Social?
We've done that in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to imagine that's got to be helpful in off seasons, but it's.
Oh, it's a seasonal town, man. Yeah. The summer's bad. Winter's bad for sure. You make all your money in the spring and the fall. No doubt about it. But, and I think it also, with the college kids, I think what that does to the full-time residents of Columbia to a certain extent is that, they're like, oh, like bars, like they just think about like college bars and college kids. And it's like, if you're 60 years old and you live in Will's Garden, like you still go out to dinner, you still go have a glass of wine. Like, you know what I mean? This isn't in the state of South Carolina. There's no, and that's something else that would help if they, it would help if they did it the right way. But if restaurants and bars should not have, the same requirements, the same stipulation. I mean, Hendrix and Jake's are two very different places.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's another problem is that, there's no separation. And so, Hendrix and Jake's are held to the same exact standard and you're doing two totally different things here.
Again, that feels like it's just not well thought out.
Right.
Like, again, I mean, you can throw a rock and hit a restaurant that probably doesn't have as many patrons coming into it drinking as it does eating.
Yeah. Well, and just this notion, and I've heard a million times over the years, we'll just serve more food. And it's like, how do I do that? So, I mean, yeah, obviously I serve more food at Hendrix than I do at Jake's. I have a kitchen at Jake's. The kitchen's small and it's busy. And everybody who wants food, I serve it to them as quickly as possible. But Barrett, if you walk up to the bar and you say, can I have a Bud Light? And I say, well, I can't do that. My alcohol percentage is too high. You got to buy a burger as well. You're going to say, why don't you let me order what I want to order, John?
Right.
And I'm going to say, that's not how it works in the state of South Carolina, Barrett, because it's ridiculous. So that's just this notion like, oh, just to get your food percentage higher. That's not like a faucet you turn on and off.
Yeah.
We're all trying to sell as much food as we can. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I'm not trying to sell food today and I am tomorrow. Like we're all trying to sell as much food as we can. That's the business we're in. We're in the restaurant business, but you can't make somebody order food if they come to have a drink.
What's the impact on the customers as far as like the ones that let's say regulars? Like what sort of conversations do you have or do your staff have with people that, I don't know, that let's say I could hold plenty of alcohol. I used to go to Uncle Louie's on a Saturday night when they had drafts for $2.50 Saturday night draft.
Yep.
And I could go in there for $20 and get sloshed. There were plenty of nights that I saw people in there that had no issues, that I would watch drink the entire night. But then there'd be a couple girls in there that would get liquor and they would handle it completely differently.
Right.
Uncle Louie's is no longer here.
Right.
I don't know if it's a cost because I did order a fair amount at $2.50 a pint, and that was. But that's what I'm saying. Like, do you hear conversations about the liquor liability law in South Carolina from customers?
I mean, I think everybody in Columbia and the whole state thinks like we do, and then except for the lawyers, I think the only people that don't see it like we do is the lawyers. I mean, why? If you come to Jake's and have one beer, and then you go to 5 or 6 or 7 other bars, and then you go to 3 or 4 house parties. I think you get into a wreck in the county over, maybe. Why should I be responsible for that? I mean, where does the chain of custody break? You know what I mean? I mean, I think any logical person gets, personal responsibility. I mean, I should not be responsible for 100% of the downside if I'm only 1% at fault. You know what I mean? And I just, yes, all of these cases are tragic. I mean, every one of these lawsuits, somebody's dying. So I'm not trying to make light of that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying from a business owner and for speaking for my staff, I don't know how I can look at a guy at 6:00 p.m. that I serve my first beer and then, he goes and does whatever else for the next 8 hours and then gets into a wreck. How am I responsible for his actions after he left Jake's? And that's how the law works right now.
Yeah. I read or heard a story about a patron came in, was brought in by Uber or Lyft or whatever, drank until the point that he was drunk and could not have driven home, but he was responsible enough to bring himself there via Uber or Lyft, went home via Uber or Lyft, went to bed, got up a couple hours later to go to work, still drunk.
Yeah.
And then there was a collision. There was an accident.
Yes.
And that was one that I think you all wound up being responsible for.
And again, I can't really get into like the details of cases, but yes, very similar to what you just described. Yes.
That to me does not sound like something that should fall on the responsibility. I mean, over serving, fine.
Right.
But, and there might be just cause to find some sort of responsibility, but like you said, the 1% versus the 100%.
Yeah.
And in a situation like that one, in the article that I read about that one, the amount of comments from people asking how are you going to hold a restaurant or a bar responsible for something that they could not control?
Right.
The drink, as far as the bar was concerned, he got there responsibly.
Yep.
He drank until the point that he was going, and then he went home.
Right.
To me, that's end.
Right.
That doesn't sound like something that requires a follow-up that makes somebody else more responsible.
Right. And that's what, and Joe McCullough said this, but it's like, when is the chain of custody broken, for us, for ourselves, you know what I mean? Like, when am I not responsible anymore? And right now, the answer is
never. Yeah, you're completely responsible 100% of the time.
100% responsible 100% of the time. Yeah. So, it's a losing proposition. And that's what, anybody who's like, well, what could you do differently? Again, my staff is incredible. I mean, my managers have been with me for 15 years.
Yeah.
That place is run immaculately, impeccably. They do an incredible job. And I don't think any of these lawsuits that Jake's has dealt with, none of them, there's nothing that I or my staff could have done to prevent them from happening, unfortunately.
Yeah. And ultimately, like I said, the comments in the article that was discussing this, especially how it reflected on the liquor liability, I don't think there was a single comment that reflected that anything that bar did was responsible, that it should not have been their responsibility. And so I did leave a comment, and I said, contact your state legislature.
Yes. Right.
Like, that's who you need to talk to.
Yeah. Right.
Do you have any sort of relationship with anyone in the state house that could potentially bring this up and create maybe a better environment? Because obviously you're not trying to get out of any responsibility.
Yeah.
You're just trying to make it clear that, or I'm trying to make it clear that we have to be responsible for ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to know. And again, I understand completely that addiction and drinking, that addiction can be a disease. And I think that speaks also to the state of mental health in the country and in the state of South Carolina. But is there anyone that you all have in here on a regular basis that could maybe present a bill or some sort of an amendment?
I mean, we have several, we know several legislators, but the problem, and this was in the Senate this time, and I'm not a professional politician, and thank God I'm not a politician, but so the House passed it unanimously, and that was, from the way I've understand it, the House passed it, they were good to go. The Senate was the problem, and it was the Speaker, Shane Massey, and then I believe the other detractor was Michael Johnson. And, as you know how it works in the Senate, any one senator can stop anything from happening. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of what happened here. And, the other thing that happened in that session, a lot of people were pushing for full tort reform, which I get, and that's, Chamber of Commerce, like, they're the Chamber of Commerce. They have to represent all of industry. They're going to push for full tort reform. I forget the guy's name, the head of the Trucking Association, nice guy. He's like, yeah, like, we need tort reform, for trucking. And I'm like, yes, I get that. We need tort reform for every industry in South Carolina. But, the SCLRA should have been pushing for just the liquor liability reform. And they were pushing for full tort reform as well. And so, what I was told, the Trial Lawyer Association was willing to work with us on the liquor liability reform, but there's no way they were ever going to give up full tort reform. So I think, we could have gotten the liquor liability component, but then as the session went on and more people got involved, then it became this full tort reform push, which again, I agree with, but I'm in the bar and restaurant business and I need liquor liability reform. So I think if we would have been more, focused on that, and if the groups we had would have been able to kind of push that forward sooner, I think we probably could have gotten more relief than we got. And obviously did not get full tort reform.
Yeah. So the law is mostly preventing overservice. Right?
Yes.
How have these strict liability standards influenced the alcohol service training and policies? Like what do your servers have to go through in order to get this certification?
So you do that, like I said, the Serve Safe certification. So it's a course basically where they just, they go through all the signs of overserving and, what to look for. And every year you have to get recertified. And, it's basically just, what are the signs from the customer not to overserve.
Have you done the training?
I have. It's been, I think when I bought Pavlov's in 2000, end of 2009.
Okay.
I think I did it in 2010, but that would have been the last time I did it.
Pavlov's great though.
Next. Yes.
I guess
in peace.
That's one of those things that I'm extremely observant and I don't even like going out because one of the things I do is I'm constantly watching every single person around. Not that I'm paranoid that something's going to go on, but that I'm just watching. I work from home, and so people watching becomes sort of my addiction. But I guess I don't. Everyone is so different. I think that I could potentially sit here and have like we described a minute ago. I could sit here and have had many drinks and maintain myself to the point that it doesn't look like I may be inebriated.
Right.
It still seems just wacky to me that our legislatures would think that this was something that needs to be the responsibility of somebody else.
Right.
With every, again, not to get political, but I guess even when it comes down to abortion, they don't want to allow people to be responsible for themselves. They want to take that away and make that more difficult. My opinion, not John's. What specific steps are taken to ensure your staff can knowingly identify and refuse service to anybody? Like how difficult is it to refuse service to somebody?
Oh, so I mean, we refuse service all the time. Yeah. No, that's not hard at all. I mean, yeah, well, I mean, if somebody, I tell them obviously err on the side of caution. If somebody has any sign, if they look like they've had, a half a beer and you think they're getting a little sloppy, like cut them off. For me, what's the upside? Selling another 1 or 2 beers, downside getting sued and I have to close my business. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, we are as careful as you can be, but again, there's not much you can, unless the person is showing obvious signs, it's hard to know. It really is. It's hard to know.
Yeah.
And again, you can't do anything. So even if I cut you off and you say, screw you, I'm leaving and driving out of here, like I gave the story earlier, you grab their keys. Well, that's assault. You assaulted the person. You know what I mean? So you just have to let them leave and drive away and then hope they don't kill somebody. It's crazy, but
the bouncers, like, I imagine there have had to been situations where someone has had to been forcibly removed from a place.
Oh yeah.
How much impact or help is law enforcement in these sorts of situations, as far as like trying to cut someone off, trying to get them out of your restaurant, because you being, I guess in my head, what's the next step? Is the state of South Carolina going to make you responsible for putting them up at the Marriott?
Yeah, right. Exactly. What do I need to do? Pay for their Uber to the Marriott and then pick up the hotel room? Right. Yeah. I mean, law enforcement's helpful whenever they can be. We've generally, I've got a lot of ex-military guys and, we can handle most situations, but yeah, anytime we've gotten CPD involved, they're always helpful and they take our side, but there's nothing they can really do either. I mean, they can't, the guy looks drunk and he gets in his car. I mean, they can talk to him, but like, their hands are kind of tied as well,
Does the city of Columbia, being that Hendricks and Jakes are both, city of Columbia, is the city of Columbia offered any sort of haven or anything as far as what they can do?
I mean, I'm good buddies with Daniel Rickman and, he's great and he's trying, and him and Mayor Cogswell from Charleston and then the mayor from Myrtle Beach, I forget her name, but the three of them, they sent in letters to the legislature last session. And I think Daniel's made a bunch of calls for us, but unfortunately, this is state level and, the city can't do a whole lot to help.
Yeah.
But, if it was up to Rickman, I think we'd have a lot more relief right now. Instead, I'm waiting on these guys down the street, and I'm not getting much.
I think what Rickman's doing is making sure that parking is as unattainable as possible. I still don't understand what sections of the city parking cuts off, and you don't have to pay for it anymore. I don't understand why in some sections of the city I can't like push my time forward further. It's absolutely one of the worst apps I think I've ever seen in my entire life. And every time we've tried to ask Rickman about that, we get no response. So,
my girlfriend Amy Beth and I own the gourmet shop, and she's good friends with Daniel also. But every time we get together, they just bicker about the park, and he's like, "You guys are fine down here," and she's like, "Give me a garage, please."
Yeah.
So
well, my office is in the Wells Fargo building, and they're in the process of now putting in. I guess they're going to build a giant garage behind the building, as well as a new apartment building between the Wells Fargo building and then the one next door. I mean, like. So that's one of the things. How much impact does the construction that goes on do you see as far as your businesses? Like Columbia is constantly growing. And there's no more room down here in Columbia, I would have thought, until I saw them take up a parking lot with an apartment building.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's No Name. So No Name Deli we own on Marion Drive. When they were digging up those streets, that was how long did that go on for? Like 2 months.
Yeah.
We had to put a sign up.
We were like years.
We were getting like 10 calls a day. Like, are y'all open? We're like, we're open. Like, we literally had to put a sign up on the Elmwood side saying we are open.
Yeah.
There's road construction, but we're open. So yeah, no, that's. I mean, I always joke. I'm like, we have terrible roads and we need them all to get fixed, but do they all need to get fixed at the exact same time?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I like 5 Points. I think that turned out well. I mean, a lot of people were bitching about, during the, it wasn't ideal timing to finish it the week after graduation, obviously.
Right.
But no, I think that's turned out well. I mean, everybody else was complaining. I saw Seth. I said, hey, I think that turned out pretty good. So, I think we need it. But yeah, again, it seems like it's always at the exact same time.
Yeah. No Name, by the way, fantastic.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely one of my favorite places.
I appreciate that.
You all are you opened a second location.
We did. So we opened Forest Drive last October, and we're actually in the process of a developer bought our original, he bought that entire block, our original location. So we're moving over to Sumter and Laurel.
Is that going to be a better spot, better parking?
I think it's going to definitely be better parking. The flow is going to be way better because you're going to go, like the dining room will be in the middle, but you walk in and then the line goes like around the perimeter.
Okay.
So it's not going to be like that, kind of, shuffling kind of like
around
kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's going to be a much better flow. It's a little bit, it's about the same size, a little bit smaller. I wish it would have been a little bit bigger, I think, but no, we'll have a really cool outside area that's going to be heated.
Oh, cool.
That'll be a bunch of seats out there, and the parking's going to be 10 times better.
You want my suggestion? Maybe open in the evenings. Maybe
okay.
A couple of evenings a week. Maybe Firefly games.
Okay.
I would go to No Name before Firefly's games.
Would you?
Every single week.
Interesting. Because we talked about like kicking around if we were going to do breakfast or dinner. Breakfast is kind of always, we're not like starting anytime soon.
Sure, yeah,
We've always
yeah.
been like, maybe we'll do breakfast and then lunch. But yeah, never really talked about doing dinner. I don't know.
I could go there for breakfast too.
Yeah.
3 meals. That's not a problem.
3 now. Yeah, 3 services a day though in a restaurant. That's tough.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I think when do you have conversations with other bar owners and restaurant owners about the liquor liability law? What are their thoughts? What is it that they're feeling on this?
I mean, I think everything we've said,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's pulling their hair out. Everybody's losing their mind. I mean, it's just, what we have to do something, you know what I mean? We're at a breaking point here, and it's really this session. I mean, it's going to happen this session. We need more relief. And, like we said, man, when more than half are lawyers and, it's plaintiff lawyers, and it's in their financial interest to not change these.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I'd say I'm hopeful, but I don't know if I am hopeful. I mean, we need it to happen, but I'm not. I don't know. We'll see.
If someone were coming to you and said they had an idea for a restaurant, and regardless of whether you thought it was a good idea, would you tell them that Columbia is the place to do it, or Greenville, or? No,
I wouldn't do. I'm looking at deals in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I've kicked around a few things in Jacksonville. I like nightlife, I like, of course I love No Name and Gourmet Shop, but
Sure.
I like Hendrix, I like Jake's. I wouldn't do, we're doing the pizza place downstairs, Black Dog Pizza, where the Woody was, but I'm doing that restaurant just simply, to kind of control my own destiny and who's underneath Hendrix. But I wouldn't do another deal that was heavy alcohol in South Carolina.
Yeah.
I would not.
I am excited about the pizza place downstairs.
Oh, sweet.
That's going to be really
man.
cool.
Appreciate that. Yeah, good.
If you could propose one additional legislative action beyond the 2026 changes to support growth, to support the restaurant owners, what would you suggest?
You're saying something besides liquor liability reform?
Yeah.
Dude, that's like my top 10 problems,
Yeah.
Like number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 10 is liquor liability insurance. They could, they've kicked around like insurance, reserve, like state funds and stuff like that, which would help pay out claims. But to me, that doesn't, that's just going to be that's
a Band-Aid.
That coffer's going to be depleted in a month. You know what I mean? The state just paying lawyers to settle these. That doesn't make any sense. Like, you need to change the law. You know what I mean? I guess giving us some other kind of financial relief, because,
So that was what I was going to say.
I'm paying $32,500 a month for liquor liability insurance at Jake's. So, that's a pretty high fixed cost.
See, and in my head, I can't even imagine that much amount of money coming into any bar or restaurant. Like, just me, because I don't understand. That is one industry. I worked at a pizza place when I was 18, and I got into an accident and wound up managing the place.
Gotcha.
But it was just pizza delivery. But it was high end Athens Greek style pizzas that, like I see deals on TV where they're like, you get a $17.99 special for, fully loaded pizza or whatever. I'm like, our pizzas used to weigh like 9 pounds, and we were selling them for $24.
Yeah,
that was in 1996.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I don't have a good concept of how much money actually comes in, like Jake's, like alcohol and food. Like I can't imagine a situation where any place would be able to cover the expenses of just the liquor liability insurance, as well as having to pay staff and pay vendors and all everything attached. It seems unattainable.
Yeah.
How do you convince yourself to keep doing it?
I guess that's the life I've chosen. I don't think I'm trying to start over at this point. I
don't know. I text you sometimes. You're like, no, man, the waves that follow are just too good. I can't make it up.
Hopefully this is the last restaurant I open below me here. And then, then I can move to Hawaii and surf the rest of my life. But, yeah, man, I mean, the restaurant business is tough, it really is.
Yeah.
It really is tough. And, it's hard to operate without having to pay $365,000 a year for liquor liability insurance. So yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, you're taking the heartbeat of South Carolina is the tourism industry, and it's already arguably the hardest business to make it in, and then you're tacking this on to make it even that much harder to make it.
Kicking it in the kneecaps.
I mean, the bottom line is people aren't going to make it, and they're not making it. And as you've said multiple times, there's places closing every single day.
Yeah.
So,
well, before we get done, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where were you raised? Like, what got you into the restaurant industry?
Yeah, it's pretty random, actually. It's pretty random. So I was, my dad was in the Navy. He was a submariner. I was born in Hawaii. And I moved around a ton. So I lived in Hawaii, Boston, Connecticut, Northern Virginia, Seattle, back to Northern Virginia. And then I went to school at Penn State. So moved around a ton. And then I'm trying to think after that. I was a complete failure in corporate America. I got fired from 3 out of 4 jobs I had, mostly cubicle jobs where I was just not good at what I was cold calling and just, I mean, I know I'm a talker. It might sound like, but I've got that raspy professional wrestler voice, like cold calling the other guy answering the phone doesn't want to talk to me, So,
yeah.
So I was did not make it in corporate America at all. Got fired for my first job, and then I moved out to Houston to work for this chop shop IT staffing firm, and that's where I met my partner Chris Davis.
Okay.
And I got fired from that job as well. He quit, but he went to UGA, and he had managed a bar called Boar's Head.
I know Boar's Head. Yeah.
So he was like, dude, let's try to find trying to buy a college bar in an SEC town. And my younger brother was going here, and he actually found Pavlov's for sale on bizbuysell.com.
No kidding.
In 2009. Yeah. People always say, I'm like, dude, bizbuysell.com is a great site to this day. I mean, if you want to buy like a tire shop or, like a blue collar bit, like, dude, bizbuysell.com is great. So anyway, we found I found Pavlov's on bizbuysell.com. And, we were lucky that it was being run very poorly when we bought it. And there was a ton of upside, and obviously, kind of had the legendary name. And thankfully, we were able to turn that around in short order. That turned around really quick. And then we did I guess Pavs was, I think, February 2010. Jake's was 2011. Bird Dog we did in 2012.
Yeah.
Cotton Gin in 15. So it was 4 college bars in quick succession. And then after, I think if 2017 hadn't, that bill hadn't passed in 2017, I'd probably still have those college bars and probably more bars, but, here we are. So then I took a break after that. We did Hendrix in 2019.
Yeah.
We bought Gourmet Shop in 2019, so that stretched me pretty thin.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
And then we did No Name in 2021. So I've lived here for 16 years. I love surfing. Still go to Hawaii every year, go to Puerto Rico. And if I wish the waves in Colombia were a little bit better. I love Colombia, but I don't get to surf here too often, as you know. So
I was gonna say, you let that dam go one time. You got.
I was about to say, yeah, you can. I think you can surf the river sometimes. I know. I need to Paul over at Salty's is a good friend, and he's always telling me, he's like, "Oh, you got to come out and surf with me sometime." And I'm like, "Let me know whenever I guess they let they'll hit the lever, and then the flow comes out from the dam, right? And get pretty gnarly out there. But yeah, so I've never surfed in Colombia to this point, but maybe someday.
Kayaking is that's my sport of choice as far as water goes. So,
gotcha.
And mostly I really prefer calm, no wind.
Yeah.
But I will say that, like, Colombia, I moved here from Atlanta.
Okay.
And the difference between Atlanta and Colombia is night and day. But I prefer to stay in Colombia only because I'm getting older. I don't like traffic. I don't like dealing with a whole lot of people. And Colombia, for me, is quiet. It's not great.
Then I was about to say, you don't want to live in Atlanta then, right?
No.
A lot of people, a lot of traffic.
plenty of people, friends, high school, whatever. Every time they're like, "When are you going to move back?" There's a fjord in Norway with my name on it. I promise. I'm going to set up a platform with a tent. I'm going to call John. He's going to have my stuff delivered, food, whatever.
Yes. We'll sure put it out there for you.
That's great. Well, John, I really appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
In closing, anything else that you feel like would potentially benefit the businesses in South Carolina that someone could hear? And maybe ultimately my biggest thing is always call your legislators.
I was literally just about to say, I would like to reiterate your point that you said you commented in that article. Call your legislator, because if they hear from people, then they'll listen. You know, if nobody calls and nobody cares, then they're not going to care. They're not going to do anything. So
the one thing that
the only way to do is put pressure on those guys to do the right thing.
The one thing that I remind people all the time when I see them leave comments about things that they disagree with in laws and things like that is, these people live in your communities. There is nothing stopping you from knocking on their door until they ask you to stop knocking on their door. Joe Wilson has asked me to stop knocking on his door. So
that's funny.
But I wish you all the success, including all of the businesses. I think that I don't want to see you move out of Colombia.
Yeah.
But this is one of those things that I think that legislators need to be aware of. Legislators need to be aware of is that they're going to continue to impact these businesses negatively, and we could see a desert as far as the tourism and entertainment.
100%. No, I mean, that's coming. If something doesn't change, that is what's going to happen next. So call your legislators and, tell them to quit going to trial and going to court, and, let's change some laws here and get something done in the state of South Carolina.
Yeah. Well, if you're in Columbia and you're looking for a recommendation on dinner, absolutely, Hendrix is amazing. We had our corporate event here back in August.
We appreciate you doing that.
I'm hoping that the Christmas event is there's going to be space available for that.
Yep.
I don't know if they've called yet, but I made the suggestion. I said there's
no, they didn't call yet.
I made the suggestion. I told them, I said, first of all, most of us, because we sit at home all day, we don't need an event that is activities. We just want to sit down and have dinner with our friends, that we work with. So
no doubt.
I'll push that.
Please push that. I appreciate it. I'll just one last shout out: Black Dog Pizza opening in the old Woody space underneath Hendrix, first week of January, and bold prediction, it'll be the best pizza in Columbia, but we'll see.
All right. Drag show is going to continue down there? Or no,
I don't believe we'll have the drag shows continuing, but we'll have some good pizza and a little neighborhood bar.
No, I think Woody's was probably one of the most popular spots for the drag show, and I think a lot of people were really disappointed when that ended. So.
Yeah, I know, and I think they said they're looking to reopen, I think, somewhere else. So
That's great.
Yeah, I talked to her when we got in here a couple weeks ago, and she said they got plans to reopen somewhere, so I'm not sure where, but hopefully it happens.
Well, hopefully state of South Carolina doesn't mess that up too.
Yeah,
so
no, they're trying.
Well, John, I really appreciate it. Again, Hendrix here on Main Street. You've got Jake's on Divine. We're gonna have the pizza restaurant downstairs, right underneath Hendrix.
Yes.
Like, does that make it a little easier for you as far as work goes?
10 times easier. Yeah. Well, it's even better. So we have Pierce from Dorsia Pasta. Yeah. So he's taking the basement. So it's excellent. I'm so stoked. I love Pierce. So it's going to be Pierce, Dorsia Pasta, Black Dog Pizza, and then Hendrix. So yeah, we're gonna be the hot building in Columbia.
That's outstanding.
I'm looking forward to it, man. So,
I'm happy for you, and I absolutely wish you all the success. It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much. That's going to do it for this episode, episode number 283. Thank you very much for listening. Links to all of our past episodes, podcast platforms, merchandise, and social media are available on our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. think our financial model of giving away free content and entertainment is silly and you're in the giving mood, why not become an official Nothinger? Support the show. Members get early access to this episode as well as exclusive content. You can visit members.theallaboutnothing.com, or you can find a link on our webpage. You can also give us a one-time donation through the same link. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can call and leave us a message, 803-672-0533. You can email the show at theallaboutnothing.com. Join our Discord server as well. Links can be found on our webpage. Thank you, everybody, for listening. You all stay safe, be kind, and keep your hands to yourself.
The All About Nothing podcast is a product of Big Media and produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow Everything Cake, the band, at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff, the producer, for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the Producer. You can follow me across social media by visiting Linktree/Barrett Gruber. And you can follow Zach King on Linktree/AANZach. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com, and become a member. There are several tiers available that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. To find links to our social media, podcast platforms, and merchandise to support the show, as well as past episodes, visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can email theshow@theallaboutnothing.com, or you can call our number and leave a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our sister shows. What the Pod Was That with Carrie, Zach, and myself. Welcome to Wonderland with Ami. Politically Speaking with Erica, Kirsten, and Emily. And Black, White, and Blue in the South with Dr. Jameel Brooks and Bill Kimmler. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe and punch that notification bell. Thank you for listening, and hear us next week. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media, LLC, and is copyright 2025, all rights reserved. Hi, it's Barrett from the All About Nothing podcast. This holiday season, make your celebrations unforgettable with ZJZDesigns. From festive Christmas prints to cheerful holiday designs, we've got everything to spread the joy. Introducing Eddie the Elf, dashing through the snow on his sled, perfect for adding that whimsical touch to your holiday wardrobe. Whether it's cozy sweatshirts or statement tees, find the perfect fit for everyone on your list. Ready to slay this season? Visit ZJZDesigns.com. ZJZ Designs, where style meets the holiday spirit.